High across the NBA last night. News well beyond Los Angeles. Dwayne Wade playing his final home game as a member of the Miami Heat scored 30 points in the game. It was a night in which the Heat were eliminated from the playoffs, but his family was there. The cheers rang loud and long. It was a very emotional night for Dwayne, but we knew that was coming, Laura.
We did. We did not know if this would be Dirk's final season. He did confirm that he would retire after his final home game, and it was emotional. He posted a season-high 30 points. Incredible to see him go out the way that he did, and just the emotion that Dirk had. We'll show you some of that later on in the show, but we've got Jalen here now to talk about it. So D. Wade, as well as Dirk, both retiring on the same night. What were your thoughts?
It's amazing to see these all-time great players always seem to live up to the hype. Both of these guys had 30 points in their final home game. And just think about it. Kobe Bryant had 60 points in his final home game. And for both of these guys, both of them did it a lot different. Dwayne Wade as a slasher, a defender, somebody that would dunk on you, somebody that improved his jump shot, became a champion, helped recruit LeBron James and Chris Bosh to come to Miami to help usher in what we now are calling super teams. And so his legacy is going to continue to live on. I feel like he deserves a statue in Miami, just like Dirk is going to deserve one as a 7-footer with unlimited range, stayed loyal to the Mavs regardless of whether they were up, whether they were down, whether they were in the playoffs, whether they were out of contention. A guy that's been the face of that franchise, and rightfully so, for a really long time, and he deserves everything that they say.
A lot of symmetry, obviously, in their careers. They met in the NBA Finals once upon a time in what was really a genuinely great series. And yes, extremely impactful, both of them. Dwayne Wade, as you mentioned, with the things he did. I heard Dan Le Batard's show yesterday. He's the most beloved athlete in the history of South Florida, and it's not even close. And then Nowitzki, who changed the sport. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki changed the game. The words stretch four were not a part of the NBA vernacular until Dirk Nowitzki came along.
The words European superstar, European MVP were not a part of the NBA. He changed what people were looking for. You know, I always talk about Steve Nash sort of changed the game, how Steph Curry kind of changed the shape of the floor. Dirk changed the way the game is played. An absolute all-time player, first ballot Hall of Famer, top 10 all-time scorer, checks every box for one of the greatest of all time.
No question about it. So an astonishing night all around the sport. Again, if you were just waking up and joining us, it was Wade's last home game. It was Nowitzki's last home game. Anthony Davis wore a shirt that basically took him out of New Orleans with a lot of hard feelings. But all of that, of course, buried under the news that Magic Johnson steps down as Lakers president of basketball operations yesterday. Doing so to the media. Did not tell his boss and dear friend Jeannie Buss first or anybody else. Taking everyone in the league, including those he works around and among, by total surprise, but he is stepping down. And perhaps the simplest way to put his explanation of it is he doesn't want to be Irvin Johnson anymore in that organization. He wants to go back to being Magic Johnson. And so again, Wendy, I will come back to you. Your book is LeBron Inc. You've been covering LeBron James since he was in high school. Where does he go from here? This is an organization in a state of complete flux. He has heard criticism of late that he has not heard. It's a different sort even than what he got when he left Cleveland to go to Miami. People will view him as being part of the problem here. How does he become part of the solution?
Okay, well, the first thing is when he came to the Lakers, he came believing that they would build a team around him. He knew that he was going to be the first one through the door. It's not the ideal way to go. Preferably, if you're the greatest, you want to be the last one through the door. So he was taking a little bit of a gamble this wasn't going to work. And it's come up snake eyes. It really probably couldn't have gone wrong. The thing that LeBron really has to do, what he can actually control, is to get himself in phenomenal condition and come back next season and be the absolute top player. Because I don't know if a phone call from him or a visit from him is going to sway these free agents. I agree with what Jalen's been saying, not just this morning, but for months now, that they're not going to be a top free agent destination. He's got to be the MVP level LeBron again. That's how he can contribute.
So it's interesting because I think a lot of people, Jalen, talk about that maybe LeBron went to the Lakers for Magic, but that may not be totally true. What do you think as it relates to LeBron and his ties to Magic being part of all of this?
Well, on paper, you look at Magic Johnson as being one of the only people ever walking the face of the earth that can relate to what LeBron James is dealing with on and off the floor. That is something that he hasn't necessarily had at each of his stops. When he was in Miami, it was more like mentor, father, Pat Riley versus basketball player LeBron James. With Magic Johnson, you felt like that marriage was going to be a little more symmetry where he can learn a lot from him and help build a championship contender together, because you know Magic is as invested in the Los Angeles Lakers as anyone. But like I've been saying, he could get in the best shape of his life. He could come back and average 28, 8, and 8 next year. If you don't get one of the top 4 players in free agency to come run with them this year, they're still not going to be a contender if they're not able to acquire Anthony Davis via trade.
All right, so I'm going to lose Wendy here in a couple of minutes. Zach Lowe's on his way. Our coverage of this will continue, but Wendy, I'm going to lose you. So let's give you the final word here. What happens now? Luke Walton was going to get fired today, yes? Now he does not?
Yes. I don't think you can do anything. They've got to make a decision on who their president is going to be. They need to have a process. It can't be done in a day or 2 days. They have to go out there and talk to people, take advantage of the situation, and find somebody who has a vision, not just a reputation.
So when you say process, we're talking about a fan base that haven't made the playoffs in 6 years, a storied franchise. Usually that comes with a level of patience, which I don't believe that the organization and the fan base is going to have. And LeBron James won't have it either.
They have to forget about the
LeBron James is in his 17th season. He can't be a part of a process.
All right, I have to take a break, and I have to let Wendy go again. His book is out as of yesterday. It's called LeBron Inc. Thank you so much for coming in here. Get Up on a remarkable day. Again, Magic Johnson stunning the world by stepping down as Laker president yesterday. And Jalen Rose, Hembo's got a good one for you. The last time the Lakers won a playoff game was 2012. Who were the only 3 NBA teams with a longer drought?
The Knicks, definitely. Likely the Suns.
You know what? Let me stop you there.
Probably the Kings.
Let me just stop you. I assumed the Knicks as well.
Okay.
It isn't even the Knicks. Put the names up there. The 3 teams are the Kings, the Pistons, and the Suns.
Pistons?
The Lakers have been so bad.
Whoa!
So Jalen, the Knicks have won a playoff game more recently than the Lakers. That is bordering on impossible to believe.
Wow.
That's pretty sad.
Detroit got a big win in New York tonight.
If you're just joining us, the biggest story of the day by far. Last night, Magic Johnson abruptly stepping down as president of basketball operations for the Lakers. Didn't tell anyone he was going to do it, including his boss. Right after this press conference, he stopped to chat with Rachel Nichols from The Jump for a one-on-one. Give a listen.
You look so happy right now.
I am happy.
Do you feel like a weight's been lifted off you?
Yeah, because you never want to let my sister down,
right,
or the Laker organization down. But at the same time, I was letting myself down by not being Magic Johnson.
Right.
So this was a decision I had to make between the last couple of days, but today it was just that, you know what, I got to go back, and I'm going to be happier if I'm just back to being Magic Johnson, doing the things I love to do.
Do you think you owed it to Jeannie to tell her first?
I wouldn't be here doing this, because I know her. We would have cried, and I would have felt guilty, and I would have stayed.
So you told us first because you didn't want her to talk you out of it?
Yeah, exactly. And she can understand that.
Do you feel that you are leaving Jeannie or the Lakers or LeBron in a lurch a little bit?
No,
that you
no.
said you were going to be here for at least another year?
No, I think that, LeBron signed because he saw that the Lakers were building something special. He could be a part of that. He's still going to be a part of that. The Lakers are still, I think, have a good offseason because we're 1 or 2 players away. You sign those 1 or 2 players, we're going to be back in the Western Conference Final next year if the right player come and then the right role player come.
That was phenomenally well done on so many different ways by Rachel. There's so much in that I wanted to comment on, but I looked at both of your faces while he was talking. Go ahead, Wendy. Why did you just go like that?
Western Conference Finals. he just made the job harder for the guy who's going to follow him. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I think if they get in the playoffs next year, it's the greatest accomplishment they've had in a decade, half a decade.
But that's a perfect example of what I've been talking about. And like when you've played in the league, for example, and you've gone against the Lakers in the finals, and when you played against Kobe Bryant, he scored 81 points, people feel like you have a personal agenda. And they forget that, like, Magic Johnson's my childhood idol. Like, Rob Pelinka is my friend. I went to college with him. I want to see them do well. But the level of delusion with the purple and gold just baffles me. I was having that argument about this season. about people overrating what was going to happen with the Los Angeles Lakers. I remember debating so many times at this table how people felt like they were going to overinflate what was going to happen this year. And I tried to bring the expectations down. And then right there, Greeny, is a perfect example. Western Conference Finals, Los Angeles Lakers. I want to remind people of something. There are only about 12 players that you can bring to your team, and it's going to be like franchise-changing guys. Most of those people ain't going to be playing for the Lakers next year other than LeBron James. So I don't see that leap happening regardless to who the president is next year.
There's so many things. What jumped out at me in all of that, to be honest with you, was the first thing he said. He said, I want to go back to being Magic Johnson again. And that is a fascinating delineation. Irvin Johnson was the president of basketball operations for the Lakers. That's a lot of work that someone like Magic Johnson doesn't need to do. He's an immortal. He's a legend, and he is a beloved figure. That guy doesn't need all the rest of this. But it does bring up this question. Brian Windhorst, this episode in his life, in his professional career, in the narrative of his basketball life, what does it do?
You know, he was the coach of the Lakers, too, and it went terribly. You know, we last like 20 games, something like that. He's a phenomenal player, great philanthropist, great businessman. Business of basketball, not it. It's not it. And by the way, there's a lot of people who are great at business who could never throw a pass like Magic Johnson or deliver a hook shot. You know, it's two different talent sets. The amount of people who can do both, very, very narrow. By the way, just shows you how phenomenal Jerry West was. The logo and one of the greatest executives of all time. It's such a different set of muscles.
So the legacy conversation for somebody who you idolize, what does this chapter look like in the overall legacy for Magic now to you?
It's just going to be a footnote because he's accomplished so very much. And Greeny, you made the distinction that I've been trying to make forever. There's the Magic Johnson, the beloved figure, the Hall of Fame basketball player, the multimedia mogul, the conglomerate that worked with the Dodgers and the Lakers at the exact same time. Like a guy that's just like broke down so many barriers. Then there's the Irvin Johnson, who's required to try to acquire, is put in a position to try to acquire Anthony Davis during the regular season and is not able to do it. Now when you look back at the Pelicans and the Los Angeles Lakers, they both changed in their front office because they weren't able to get the deal done.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most remarkable things in recent NBA history was the Anthony Davis trade demand. Completely sent several franchises on their side and is going to re-engage this summer when we could have several other legacy franchises like the Boston Celtics involved.
All right, so let's go through that, though, for a minute here, okay? Because that trade demand comes and it becomes very public. Now, the people running the Lakers are out. The people who were at that time running the Pelicans are out. But that trade demand didn't come from either of them. That trade demand came from LeBron James' agent, right? So where is he now in all of this?
Well, obviously, Anthony Davis wants the heck out of New Orleans. He made that incredibly clear without saying
we're going to
a
show
word.
More
you
on that in a moment.
Last night. The Lakers really have to hope, and this is a strange bedfellow, they have to hope that Kyrie Irving leaves the Celtics. That sounds strange. Why does that have anything to do with it? Because for the Celtics to make their best offer, I don't think they can do it if Kyrie Irving leaves. Because you'd potentially be risking Jason Tatum and Kyrie Irving for a one-year rental. I just don't think they can do it. If Kyrie Irving comes to the Knicks and the Celtics have to make an offer that's maybe lesser, it brings back other offers. And the second thing that needs to happen, they need to do whatever they can do, pray to whatever deity you want to pray to get up in that lottery.
Yeah.
The lottery is their savior, their percentage chances in the single digits. But if it hits, it could totally change everything in the franchise, either getting John Morant or Zion Williamson or getting a pick that they could re-engage to get Anthony Davis.
Lottery or potentially the Knicks ends up actually being the effect here that could end up changing the whole thing.
Absolutely. And they don't control their destiny right now.
Yeah.
Like usually when you're a storied franchise like the Los Angeles Lakers and you have 16 championships, all of the top free agents used to want to come play there. All of the top execs used to want to come run that franchise. Today, we can't say that.
No.
Okay, now, we've been hinting at this. Go ahead, Laura, show them the shirt.
We need to show you the shirt. This is Run the Floor. And you mentioned it. Anthony Davis shows up. He sat out, of course, the Pelicans' final regular season game. But look at this shirt that he's wearing. It says, "That's all, folks." Wendy, we'll start with you. What do you make of this?
I guess he's doing Space Jam with LeBron. Anthony Davis' reputation, Jalen, I think you'd agree with me, was pretty sterling before this season. He was on teams that didn't do successful, but everybody, I think, respected him as a player. He's hurt his reputation with the way he's handled this, and that was not advisable, not the way to go out.
I agree, and he's accomplished so much as a player with that franchise. You don't want to leave and be disliked by that fan base. And he doesn't control his destiny.
That's right.
Don't bark up that tree right now because it could fall on you.
More on that later, including Alvin Gentry's comments. But in that Pelicans-Warriors game, Steph Curry had a little scare, injury to the right ankle.
By the way,
go ahead.
Only one of the most important things in the NBA this year, the health of Steph Curry's ankles. This is like the only thing that can bring them down. Luckily, I think it's not going to be serious. He should start okay.
Mild sprain, they
So
say.
So they say.
So we'll see what happens.
Barking at the officials is another thing that could bring them down this year as well.
You're right.
Officials, the ankles, we'll see what happens. How about Paul George stopping the Rockets from clinching the 2 seed in the West when he drilled a game-winning 3 in the final seconds of the game? Why was this important?
This only changed the entire Western Conference playoff outlook. This only maybe robbed us from a Western Conference rematch between the Rockets and the Warriors, pushing the Rockets to the 4 seed. Things have got to happen tonight, but the Rockets lost position. If they hold on to this game, they could have had the 2 seed. Now they're in the 4.
Let's make sure this is 100%
Crazy.
clear. In fact, if we can for a second, bring it out to the table, because, Jalen, you're clapping because you know exactly what the implications of this were, but I'm not sure the audience does. By making that shot, a game-winning shot at the very end, and OKC beating Houston, instead of Houston being the 2 seed, now Houston falls most likely to the 4. OKC could be the 8. Golden State could wind up playing them each in the first 2 rounds.
That's right. And also, Maurice Harkless hit a shot to beat the Lakers last night to keep the Blazers in front. It took 2 game winners last night to potentially completely change the Western Conference.
And I'm a fan of the game. The ESPN and ABC, we have the Western Conference playoffs. I want to see the Warriors play against OKC and the Rockets.
You've been wanting that
we have the
all
Western
year
Conference
long.
Finals, and I want to see Rockets Warriors.
Right. I don't have enough time for all of this. We got
Too
so
much
much to do
stuff.
as we continue here our complete coverage of a